Welcome back to Like It or Not. We're joined now by Chuck Modiano. He is a justice journalist and a sports writer for Deadspin, and he has been continuously on the ground covering stories that are not normally covered. Chuck, thanks so much for joining us this morning. How are you, brother?
After that Nabila Islam interview, I'm doing great. That was like a double espresso shot, you know?
Yeah, man.
It was beautiful. And let me tell you, Nabila Islam is the perfect name to run for office.
Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely, man. And listen, the energy that you get, hey, man, I love energy. Thank you for coming and thank you for doing what you do. First of all, I know everybody in my orbit generally knows your work because we've been like supporting each other for years now. We were just talking about the last time we were on air together. You've been covering this stuff from a street level for a long time, and some of the most compelling narratives and stories that have come out, particularly of DC right now, because as you let it be known, the protest that started because of George Floyd this summer, they have not died down. Talk about that for a second.
Well, they have not stopped. They have not stopped after Joe Biden. And what a lot of people don't know outside of D.C. is that they've been thriving for months, about 9 months now. And the cameras went away and Washington Post went away. But the young people in the streets, they still been out there, and they still been fighting police terror and trying to change the budget in D.C. and trying to raise awareness to everybody in D.C. and outside of D.C.
I want to play and I want to bring everyone into this conversation. I want to start with one of the clips because you are literally on the ground catching this footage, and you capture this footage in peaceful protests, and you capture footage even when the cops create these riots, right? Let's be clear. Every quote unquote riot that we've seen has been instigated by the cops. I want to play clip 2 from some of your coverage, and then we'll discuss it.
Sure.
Fucking day for the past 200 some days, when we come out here with a Black Lives Matter action, you see police officers like this with riot gear at mutual aids, at jail supports. You see them with riot gear at vigils. You see them with riot gear at vigils. But yet armed insurrectionists came here, armed terrorists came here, and Capitol Police was waving them in, opening the gates and shit, welcoming white supremacy into the halls of Congress because it already fucking lives there. And what we're fighting for is fucking equality. So that shit doesn't live there. That shit is not allowed in there. Equality, Black lives actually mattering, centering Black voices, making sure that Black mothers don't die. That shit is not in there. That doesn't live in the spirit of what this house fucking holds. Even though slaves built it. All those Black and brown hands bleeding built this shit. But yet, all these fucking white cackling ass faces are standing right here, acting like this shit is a fucking joke. Fucking, there was a Confederate fucking flag. And a fucking Nazi flag, a don't tread on me flag. 3%ers and actual white supremacists in the halls of Congress. We wanted to put banners on the fence. And this is the shit that we are dealing with. Anti-fascist banners. And this is the shit that we are dealing with. We can no longer say that fascism is not a part of who America is.
It is America, boo.
This is America. You see her.
Breathing.
This is the America that Black people have always lived in. This is not something new. This is not something out of the ordinary. This is, and to suggest otherwise is ahistorical. There have been other insurrections before this one. So please understand that the white supremacists will continue to try to overthrow as long as we try to get fucking equality. But motherfuckers like them help them win. And the reason why they are not stopping them, the reason why Congress is not stopping them is because when you uphold white supremacy, it doesn't threaten their power. But when you try to dismantle it, it sure the fuck does. Talk about it.
Yeah.
I'm fucking tired. I'm fucking...
Ooh.
Man.
I felt that. I felt that.
Tell us about that, sister. Tell us about that moment. Whew.
Well, I mean, it's amazing. I mean, I've probably interviewed Ariana maybe 20 times over the summer. She's like so many amazing people. Like, how do you summarize it better than how she summarized it? It's impossible. And, you know, it's interesting. When John Lewis dies, we celebrate the John Lewis as we should. When a Fred Hampton movie comes out, we celebrate Fred Hampton as we should. And yet I see John Lewis's, Fred Hampton's, Ella Baker's, Fannie Lou Hamer's in the street every day in DC, fighting for their lives. And we ignore them. Washington Post, nowhere to be found, the biggest paper. And they have all the resources in the world. They could have been covering the brutalization of the protesters, including Ariana, who's been arrested twice, who's been targeted. I mean, there's some serious brutalization that has gone on, and they're not celebrated, if they even acknowledge. And that's why I appreciate so much what you're doing right now. I'm giving her that space.
Yeah. And Chuck, it's interesting to see that you've been covering this along with other things, but in merging all of those things together, like sports, and then getting out here on the streets to get these kind of stories out. And like you said, it's up to us, the people who have access to media, who have platforms, to shine the light on the Fannie Lou Hamers in the street, on the John Lewises, on the Martin Luther King Jr.'s. That's up to us. But how are you able to even tie that in together and stand in this moment and be a light and a pillar also in social justice?
Yeah.
Well, this time it's easy for me. You know, in the past, I had to go to Ferguson. In the past, I had to go to Standing Rock. Or Charlotte's only a couple hours away. But this is right in my backyard. So, you know, I live right outside of D.C. So for the first time, you know, people were like, are you going to come to Portland and show what's going on there? I said, I don't need to go to Portland. They have about 10 great independent media individuals covering it very well. In D.C., we don't have expansive independent coverage, though I do want people to check out Black House News, who does some tremendous coverage as well, and there's some others. But we don't have that level of independent coverage. And what's worse is that the papers like a Washington Post ignores it. So DCS does some good work, but they're local and small. And I might even give a nod to NBC Local 4, who's done some decent work. But outside of that, you just have to go down there, put a camera in front of someone's face and say, why did you come out here? And then you get the magic that we just saw happen better than anything you will hear on CNN. Yeah. That's what Ariana just gave us. The truth is in the street.
Absolutely.
Yes, the truth is definitely in the street. And I'm glad that you hit in the streets, because it's not. And it's like, you know, for people, it's unbecoming to go out there and get those type of interviews, right? It's just for the social media or just for YouTube. But the truth of the matter is, people have moved away from mainstream media. Like, there are people like what's her name, who worked in sports, who decided to leave sports because she wanted to discuss more politics. It's not coming to me right now, but Jamel. We know. Yes, Jamel Hill. Yeah. For her to leave that and go out because she wanted to go into politics a bit more in depth, and she had to leave the mainstream to go into the social media platforms, because that's the new thing. We are not going to be capping voices, and you're showing that we got to get to the streets, because the people. Hearing from the people first is what really matters. And I thank you. I thank you a million times, Chuck, for going out there and getting the magic that you got. But not only is it magic, it's truth. It's authentic. It's truth. It's relatable. So
Speaking, let's watch this next clip. Play clip 8, because I think this one is impactful as well.
Being at least a good 100 of Proud Boys. So as we were walking to our vehicles, they came and flooded the streets that we were walking on, and literally surrounded.
They had came out and started arguing with us and yelling and everything else. So there was 2 black women that were with me, who were out protecting Black Lives Matter Plaza with me, who they really harped in on, even though I was standing there.
I had one Proud Boy come up to me and tell me, he had his hand in his pocket, and I was like, whoa, what you have? He was like, something. He said, I got something to take every single one of y'all out, and it's gonna be my goal to take at least as many of y'all out as I can. He was like, y'all gonna die today. And I looked at him and was like, yo, you're talking about murder. You're talking about murder. And someone came up behind and was like, yeah, we'll take every single one of you out. And it was at that moment I knew, I was like, I'm gonna have to fight for my life to get out of here. That you caught on camera punching me came up to me, he pushed me, I pushed him back off of me, and he followed up with a punch. I was lucky enough to see the punch coming, so I was able to move back a little bit, but not enough that he still hit me. I'm grateful that I moved back, because I definitely would have been knocked out, because he used all his might. literally everything in him, he used to throw that punch.
Took a swing at one of the black women, and I immediately jumped into action, and it was a whole fight. I had to protect myself and do what I had to do in order to make sure that they were safe and that I was safe as well.
At them, they was like, "Oh, you're going to jail now." And so they grabbed me, they throw me on the ground, and this big guy, he puts his knee on my back, and I'm literally trying to tell them I can't breathe. My whole live footage caught that. I was saying I cannot breathe because his whole body was on the back. It took 4 officers to really arrest me. You see how small I am? I was running to save myself, and I got arrested. I was running from another person who literally caused me bodily harm and his partner, and I got arrested. Neither the person who was chasing me nor was the person who put his hands on me got arrested, but I did. That's our system.
It is our system.
I got nothing, Chuck. Talk to us about that, man.
I mean, that's our system. But specifically, we have to understand that she was arrested. The other gentleman you saw was arrested, and the Proud Boys weren't arrested. And the next part of my video that you don't see there is police standing over the Proud Boys who were assaulting and just let them walk away. Mm-hmm. And so we still want to get those arrests. In fact, one of the man who threw the punch has been ID'd as Nathan J. Moats. We're still trying to get him, just the same way we ID'd a lot of people after Charlottesville. So we want to get that man. Also,
I want to get that
it's
man.
a bigger issue. The bigger issue is January 6th didn't happen in any vacuum. Talk to any DC protester. They were warning everyone because the MPD stood down on November 14th when the Nazis came to town. The MPD stood down there on December 12th and sided with the Proud Boys. So what do you expect after the Proud Boys and the Trumpers were so empowered in November and December, even said as much on their chat boards and said they were coming in on January 6th? We knew that stuff was going to go down. We knew that they were going to storm the Capitol. What we didn't fully know is to the extent that police would let them.
Yeah. And getting the on the street word, getting the testimonies right then and there, showing and backing up the fact that those police officers let them, those police officers were complicit in what was happening. Those police officers stood by and tried to attack or did attack and arrest those Black protesters for what? They were not the same. They are not the same. But to see that, the first woman that you showed who was just like, I'm just trying to put up some words, a banner. We're just trying to literally be here and stand up for what we believe in, just like you allowed those terrorists to attack the building, right? to insurrect or whatever people are using nowadays, but those terrorists to go attack the building. And we're just trying to do something right. And here you guys are bringing your police presence that was not available during that whole terrorist attack. Why? All because of skin color? All because of skin color. And I know it sounds something so minute, but both of those stories showed us that it literally is because I am Black. I'm a target. I am Black. I'm a minority. And a woman at that, being attacked and thrown around as she was. It's disgusting. But this is what we're still living in. Not too long ago, like literally our whole nation was separated, not too long ago. And then before that, slavery and things like that. They want us to forget. We cannot forget because the system is literally drenched in this already. Yeah. And today we can see that with how they're dealing with younger folks. And it's like, when will it stop? But now we have the power to tell the stories, show the stories, and we're going to continue to fight. The passion that you have when you speak about it shows. And the passion that these younger folks have that are out there right now, it shows. And I'm glad that we can share our stories thanks to you. So, yeah.
Let's get one more clip in, Chuck, because let's run that. I think it's clip 10.
These clips are getting me fired up.
It's cool, but it ain't that cool because there was a lot of people out here, but I ain't see none of these people out here when we needed support. We was out here on the same plaza getting shot at with tear gas, rubber bullets, and all that, pepper spray and whatever. It didn't have this many people out here. But now this jump was filled. This jump was filled all the way up to like damn near way down the DuPont Circle filled up. But we ain't never had that many people out here. We ain't never had any people out there protesting with us, except for that little one first weekend. That's it.
And you were, let few folks know, you were living in tents for weeks or months, right?
Yeah, we was occupying this space. Yeah, we occupied it for it was like 60 days straight. We occupied this space. Black Lives Matter Plaza, yeah. It was a lot.
And what do people need to know about that time?
Oh, I mean, I've said a lot throughout those months. I done did a few interviews with you. So, but what they need to know is pretty much it was brutal out here. We was out here, like I said, getting shot with tear gas, rubber bullets, pepper spray, all kinds of shit. We was getting hit with those, what are those things called? The flash bangs. I got hit with one in the leg. My friend got hit in the face with one that exploded on his face.
You were also arrested, I remember.
Oh yeah, and I also got arrested. I got arrested twice out here.
And doing nothing, I remember.
Yeah. So a lot is going on. Like it's a lot. Like I could go on. I could go on and on about what happened out here at Black Lives Matter Plaza. But yeah, it's odd to see so many people out here celebrating. It's weird because we was out here, getting shot at. Like this is a war zone to us, but they don't know that.
Wow.
They don't know that at all. So them, it was just a little party for the day. But they're not gonna be out here protesting with us tomorrow or next week. Or they wasn't out here last week or the weekend before that though.
And Chuck, what was that night? Was that the election night he's talking about, or what?
It was a night that it was officially announced Trump lost and Biden won. And what we saw that Saturday night, we saw people in the streets, and I would say including thousands of white people who came out during COVID to celebrate, to throw their arms in the air. And him and others were talking to that dichotomy, but where were you when we were, out here protesting? And where will you be? And 1 week later, the Proud Boys were in town to brutalize, and that crowd was not there, including amidst very misguided calls with white people with very large platforms to say stand down, who never spoke to any organizers in DC. So a lot of people have felt abandoned since that time, seeing those numbers.
Hang on, let me make sure I heard you correctly. You said that there were calls from people with large platforms to tell the protesters to stand down. Did I hear that right?
You heard that absolutely. Yes, you heard that right. People with million followings who had no they had no connection to the organizers, and they used their platform. They said, stay away. They said the Nazis will go away on their own by osmosis. Don't give them the oxygen that they want, quote unquote. And what happened is they got so much oxygen that they stabbed people on November 14th. They beat people in December 12th. They tore down Black Lives Matter signs throughout the city. As my friend Black House News says, they made it a sundown town in DC, and that led up and empowered them to January 6th. So when people talk about what protesters should do and how they should respond to Nazis, they need to talk to local organizers first.
Yes. Yes. They definitely need to talk to local organizers first. And I'm glad that you gave that background, because if we listen to him speaking, he was like, listen, it's cute, it's good and all that they out here, but they wasn't out here when this is the war zone for us. This is not a celebration area. Yeah. You don't come to Black Lives Matter Plaza and come here and utilize it to celebrate like the white folks are here celebrating as if something was won. No. Just a week ago, just a few days ago, not knowing that a week later, this will continue to be a war zone for us. I have bullets. I've been arrested here. This is not a celebratory area. None of you guys fought with us. You fought maybe a day or two and left us for dead because you guys can't handle it and you don't understand what it's like to be Black in America. But you do. In one, that means everything is good. It's not good for us. People still look at us like we are, that we're inferior. We're Black. We don't deserve anything.
Chuck, real quick, man. Just kind of speak to one. We're gonna have you back as often as you can come back, so that we can amplify all of this footage and all this coverage that you're doing. And the passion from which you speak, right? You're speaking from a passion of a person who's in
and
these
get
streets.
The real stories.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. But just speak really quickly in terms of your work and where people can find out more about your work. connect with you and your work?
Sure. Well, really since post George Floyd, I've been doing most of my work on Twitter at Chuck Modi1. I am also a sports writer. I write with Deadspin. Editor, I said, I'm going to slow down the next few months. I'm going to write a lot less. I have to be out in these streets. So that's what I've been doing. And in fact, the young gentleman, he pulled me in harder personally. He pulled me in harder to the streets because I was leaving. And he was saying, Chuck, the police are beating us at 2 and 3 in the morning. That's when they're beating our ass. That's when they're raiding our tents. That's when they're stealing our belongings. That's when they're looting our belongings. After our phones die out, after we can't capture it. Can you please stay after 6? So myself and a couple other media members started to pulling overnights, but he was the main guy making that call for and try to, stay overnight and see what's really going on.
Wow. Chuck Modiano, thank you so much for your justice journalism and all of your work. And come back because we want to hear your voice as well as all the people that you're covering as often as we can.
Thank you so much. Thank you both.